Welcome to my channel. Normally it's just off-roading, but today is going to be a installation of a new brake kit I got for my truck. The EBC, make sure, and the black does wear off. So although they look really cool right now, I know eventually it's going to wear off, and I don't really care. And then I got their green stuff, the SUV pads, and it was all in a kit. It's for the Tacoma. I did type up literally all of the steps that I'm doing, even the optional steps. There's a few different ways to do it on a Tacoma, and they're all in there. And just what I've learned, I'm not a mechanic, so if you do follow what I'm doing here, you know, enter your own risk, do your own research. There's a lot of good resources online. It's not a difficult job, but it's an important job. I mean, that is your safety line. You know, when you're driving a 4,000-pound vehicle, your brakes are what's going to keep you and other people safe on the road. So don't take it lightly. Do your research. Be prepared. Know what's going to be involved and know what can go wrong. As you can see, I'm on a pretty flat surface here. I have a jack already located underneath the truck in a good spot to jack it up from. Jack stands are already underneath it. It's convenient, they already fit. So once I lift it up, I'll jack it up. Or I'll lift those up and set the truck on it. I'm just going to go ahead and break these loose. Alright, so lugs are broke loose. I'm going to jack up the vehicle and just double check. I'm going to go put my parking brake on before I get too high. Find a good spot for him. That'll work. I'll leave my jack right where it is because I don't need it out of the way. But now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lower the vehicle just slowly. And then I leave it tight. The weight's on the jack stands, but now I have the jack there for the sole reason that I don't have to jack it up as much to lower it down when I'm done. So I'll just leave it there. It's not really supporting the weight. The jack stands are doing their job. So you can see, tires just barely off the ground, which is good enough for me. Alright, so I want to touch on something, kind of a rookie mistake that I've made just now. I didn't mention you should be wearing eye protection, which I haven't been. Gloves are not a bad idea. And if you're going to be using like air tools and such, a decent amount, you really should put some ear protection in. Alright, so see this right here? This is what I'm going to be using now. My GoPro. I'll show you this. This is what I'm looking at. I think this is going to be a good job of showing you what I'm doing. So I'm going to use my phone here to record. Let me start that now. And this is not a plug for GoPro. It's just what I have available. So let's see here. So welcome to Tacoma brakes. I'm going to turn this. And as you can see, there's still decent pad life on here, but I bought the upgrade. I want to do it. See, and what I'm doing right now, I'm actually just checking these pins just to see how that, see how these are moving. You got to watch. Sometimes it can be kind of seized up. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna sandpaper and just clean these off before I end up putting them back in the truck. But now I check the pins are moving. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do, let's go ahead. I'm going to set this phone down. See that's aimed correctly. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to pop my hood. And this I'll give a little plug for because this is my buddies over at Anti-Dark. This is what that hood lighting kit is. So I'll give you a little. You can see that there's actually a little switch right here. It's called Anti-Dark, and it's pretty sweet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and go over my brake reservoir here, brake fluid. And I'm just going to take the cap off. So one thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you have the ability to turn your wheels. So sometimes it requires having the key in the ignition. You know, you won't be able to turn them, but I can turn them. And this way you can have good access to, let's grab this. You'll have good access here to your caliper, so you can see really well. The wear looks pretty good. It's a little uneven, honestly, which is interesting. But nonetheless, here's my little bleeder. So there's a couple of different ways to do this. So the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to grab some pliers and I'm going to pull these cotter pins out. So let's do that. So they're really easy. I'm sure you can see that. I'm going to move this down a little bit. Camera and all, you know. So boom, cotter pins are pulled. Now that those are pulled, I'm going to go ahead and pull the caliper pins, which are these guys. And my dad's Tundra had like 100,000 miles on it, and it was really, really difficult to get these out. And what I ended up having to do is I used a hammer, you know, and I pushed on them, like hit on them like that, and then I got a pliers, and because you don't want to damage them, and I actually used a thicker pliers, something more like this, and I grabbed them, and then I hit here with the hammer to pull them out. I mean, if you're doing this, you're probably handy enough to figure out a resource and way to do that. So I'm not going to tell you how to do that, but that's just what I had to do with my dad's Tundra, and his calipers look really similar. Okay, so after you pull the pins out, then there's this clip, which is very easy also to get out. And one thing, remember when you're reinstalling, is you'll end up wanting to install this first and then slide your pins through, because the pins are actually going to go through this little piece right here. So make sure the GoPro can see that. Okay. So some people save these, like the cotter pins. I bought some new ones, and I'm going to see how these look compared to the new ones, and maybe I'll use the new ones, maybe I'll use the old ones. Probably use the new ones because I bought them. Alright, so I know you probably can't even take me seriously with this GoPro on here. I can't. I'm looking at myself right now. I want to go through the optional steps with doing a Tacoma brake job. I'm going to go ahead and start recording this. The optional steps that you'll see is you could clamp the brake line hose, which is right here, if you look at the GoPro clip, right down here. And this will prevent any more fluid from coming out. The reason you would want to do this is to prevent any risk of pushing fluid back up into the reservoir. They say there's a risk associated with just spreading the calipers right here and pushing them so you can pull the pads out. It's up to you. I have a tool that's going to push these, and it's my understanding that especially on a Tacoma and a lot of cars, it's pretty easy to just push the pistons back without clamping it and opening the bleeder. If you want to do it, I would say a more technical way, that's a more technically correct way, you clamp this off, you open this bleeder, and then you push these back. Pushing the pistons back, it'll push fluid out of the caliper, out through the bleeder hole. I would put a hose on here and I'd run it into something you use for an oil change, something to catch the brake fluid, you know, and then close it back up, and then you could put your new pads back in. I'm not going to do that. There's a couple of different ways. There's a couple of videos out there how to separate these pads. I have a tool. I bought the tool on eBay for like 25 bucks, I think. It's for this. It's really for like one piston, but you could use it for this, and this is why I bought it. It's for my truck. I used it on my dad's Tundra, and I'm going to use it on my Tacoma. You don't want to just push against the pistons directly. You want to use the old pads as a way to push them. You could probably have left the pins in for this, but I just don't want it to bind too much. These are pushing back really easy. My dad's Tundra was actually kind of hard to do this with. And you want to get them back, push back all the way. What's nice about using this tool is it pushes back pretty evenly. And you need to create space for the new pads, right? So you need to get those pistons pushed all the way back. If you were just doing pads, this is like you're like halfway done. If you're doing pads and rotors, you're not done. Okay. Well, if you could get your hands in there, you could literally just pull the pads out. As you can see, pistons are back. Also, something else, spray your brakes down with some brake cleaner. I'm gonna go do that right now. But brake dust and stuff like that is really not good for you to breathe in, especially like my dad's were pretty old and it was just coated and just crap. That's probably overkill, but it's okay. Now, because I didn't do the optional steps, I could skip it, but at this point you'd want to close the bleeder valve and you can unclamp it. And we can move on. So yeah, I'm using my own directions because I want to make sure that these make sense for you. Any tools that I use, I want to write down. If I use certain size, anything, I want to write it down on my directions, my installation instructions. I want to make sure that these are actually going to work for you and for me. All right, so something you need to remember. Let me put this back on. Mess with my phone. When you pull your pads out, is note the direction that they're going. Okay, so these pads were like this, and they were inside, just like that. And what you want to note is which side which is on. Really, the only difference that's noticeable on these, side-specific wise, is where the little noisemaker is. The thing that was driving me crazy is this guy right here. So I'll show you that. You can see what I was saying is you want to note the orientation of the pads. So and almost always on most vehicles, the inside leading edge is going to have this piece. So now, okay, the old pads are out. What's next? First, I need to unbolt the clip on the spindle. So if you're looking, let me just grab my phone so I can see what you're seeing. Make sure I'm aimed correctly. This nut right here, which I believe is going to be, let me just not judge. Let me just get exactly what it's going to be. Perfect. All right, so it's a 12. Grab my socket here. I try to stay as organized as I can when I'm doing a project like this, but let's be honest, man, stuff ends up everywhere sometimes. Depends how organized you are. So the reason I'm undoing this clip is there's a hard line attached to the back of the caliper. So this is a hard line right here, and you do not want to be flexing or stressing this out. So in order to do that, you're going to have to take this clip out. It's on the spindle. Alright, so let's put this somewhere where we're going to remember where it is. I'm going to put it by my lug nuts. Okay. Pull that clip off. You don't want to put too much stress on your hard lines. So, because I'm going to have to pull this caliper off in order to actually get the rotor out. So, alright, so loosen that. Loosen the two bolts that hold the caliper on. So I'm going to set this to the side. Let's grab a 17. And extension. And so let's see. Sometimes you can't get your air tools in there. Sometimes you can. That's it. Ooh, like magic, isn't it? There you go. So let's set that down. Make sure we're doing good. All right. So you notice I didn't just take that one out. I'm going to take it out by hand now. Which, let me get in here. I'm just taking that off nice and loose by hand, just because I don't want the caliper to drop. Alright, so I grabbed a bungee cord, and now when I'm going to pull this last bolt out, that's kind of a rookie mistake too. Whatever, see, so obviously I don't know everything. I'm just going to go ahead and run this through and hook this onto something so that the nothing's too stretched. And I don't want any pressure on these brake lines. Make sure that's alright. So we got a hammer. Let's give her a little whack and just see. Oh yeah, amazing kind of persuasion that thing can have. Get this sucker off or what? There you go. Alright, so there's the old one. It's really not too bad looking, but I just don't care. I want better stopping power. Alright guys, so where are we at right now? We got our calipers off, our pistons already pushed back. Actually, I accidentally turned the truck on and pushed the brakes a little, so push these pistons up. Not a big deal, I'll separate that in a second. Rotors are off. I just took a little wire brush here with some brush cleaner. I just wiped it down. So now I'm ready to put my new rotors on. New rotors typically come from the factory with a coating on them to help prevent rust. I mean, if they didn't have that when you open the box, your brand new rotors would look like garbage. So you want to go ahead, get a rag, spray with some brake cleaner, wipe down the rotors before you put them on, or put them on and wipe them down, whatever. Doesn't matter how you do it. Got my brake cleaner. These are direction specific, so I grabbed the one out of the box that says left. So let's slide this on. The new rotor looking pretty cool. If you guys are anything like me, you know, anytime you have the opportunity to upgrade something, you do. Get this unclipped. And I got my bolts handy. Yeah, you could put anti-seize on those bolts. I didn't. I'm not going to. But you could if you wanted to. I'm going to stick this in there really quick. And I need to push these pistons back again. I accidentally pushed the brakes when I turned my car on to take it out of four-wheel drive so I could spin it. And this thing happens to just work just enough. Alright, so rotors are on. I cleaned the threads off. I got a little bit of anti-seize on. Made sure to clean those off the lugs. So now I'm ready to put my pads in. Okay, to properly lubricate these, one thing you're going to want to know is you're going to want to do the back of the pads a little bit. I'm going to use anti-seize for that. You can use like there's brake lubricants. What you don't want to use is real grease. There's brake grease, anti-seize, whatever. Don't use regular grease. Regular grease can be honestly detrimental to the braking components. You know, it can ruin the seals on your calipers. So there's a lot of bad things that can happen if you use regular petroleum-based grease on your braking components. On the pins, especially on a floating caliper, it's important to use silicone paste for that. So not even just anti-seize, not brake lubricant. Use silicone paste on the pins. I'll use it. I'm going to use it on my pins. I'm going to clean off my pins, and that's just what you're supposed to use. And I would not going to suggest using anything else. It's not a big deal. I bought some on Amazon. It's cheap. Here's my pads. I'm going to put the sound maker, this right here, on the leading edge on the inside, right? So the rotor spins this way, leading edge, inside. This is where it's going to go. But before I do that, I want to put some anti-seize on here. I actually have some brake grease lubricant, and I'm not even going to use it. I'm going to use this because this is it says right here, brake lube. So that's what I'm going to use. Some people like load this crap on. You don't want this to get on the friction side, so I'm just going to put a little bit. I'm going to grab another latex glove and spread that out. And any of the parts that slide, right? So this is going to go in here. It's going to maybe slide on this edge a little bit, so I'm going to put a little bit on this edge. Just a little bit. And on this edge. You know, a lot of calipers have little grooves that the pads slide in. That's where you want to do it. Thought I had some paper towels around here. That doesn't matter. I'll use the corner of this. So I'm going to slide this in now. See how tight of a fit it's going to be. You shouldn't have to really like force this in. It should just go in pretty easily. That did. You're gonna have to wiggle it a little, and that's not a problem. That's nothing to be worried about. Put a little bit on back here. This copper stuff can get really hot. I'm pretty sure you could use regular anti-seize, but when the damn stuff says brake lubricant, I mean. And make sure you do not get any of this on the friction surface of the pads. I cannot stress that enough. I don't know who would do that, but, you know, definitely don't recommend what I just did there. I don't know who would do that, but, you know, there's a lot of people in this world that, you know, I'm one of those people that I ask a lot of dumb questions, but I'm not a dumb person. So I'll just go ahead and make it clear for everybody. There, you should be able to see. Let's see. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? I'm going to take these two pins here. I'm going to take these pins. I'm going to clean these off real quick and just make them nice. And then I'll show you. I'll put some silicone paste on them, and we'll slide them in, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. Okay, so I clean these off. I'm going to grab my silicone paste. This is what I got. It's just 3M silicone paste. Yep, it's safe to use on brake systems, ignition, electrical terminals, rubber bushings, and more. I think they should put an exclamation point at the end. And more! Whatever. Just kidding, that's not the right thing to do. So I did that. I'm going to grab my little rag here. Just hit these with some brake cleaner. Or mist, whatever, one or the other. You know how my pins moved freely? I want to keep them moving freely because I'm going to be doing my brother's FJ pretty soon. He's got 100,000 miles on his original brake, original clutch. Runs great. Gotta love Toyota. But we'll see if that ends up being as simple as this is, because my truck's only 2 years old. So, cleaned off, no problem. Silicone paste, right? It's So as you can see, it's kind of clear looking. I'm going to go ahead and do the top one first. And I'm going to push this through. This is the way it was before. There's some excess silicone paste. It ain't gonna hurt anything having it on there. I'll put some on this end. But, you know. So let me grab my new pins and new connectors that I have right here. Carlson quality brake parts. Bought them on Amazon. I buy everything on Amazon because I'm an Amazon Prime member and a lot of things are Prime-like in nature. These cotter pins don't look as good as the factory ones. The factory ones got that little bend in them. But I bet they'll do the job just fine, and we'll find out. So I'm going to open this up. I'm really good about not making a mess, and it's really nice because then I don't have much of a cleanup. It's complete bullshit. This. And two pins. What is that? Need 2 pins. There's one. There's one. I'm going to go put these over here before I forget, because I'll need these for my next ones. So I got 1 pin in. I got my new cotter pin. I'm going to go ahead and poke that through. Should be good. Got my silicone paste in there. What it's doing. So what you're going to do is you're going to put these little clips in here, push that down, and basically make it so that the pin is going to slide through. So I clean this off. I'm going to hit this with some brake cleaner quick, just to make sure. And just wipe it down. And the good thing about solvents like that are on the brake cleaner is they dry really quick. Put some silicone paste on there. Like that. Good enough, I think, yeah? You just don't want to use any petroleum-based products. And this is not really complicated. As I'm sliding the pin in, I'm just making sure that I'm making it through that like that. Wasn't sure why I was catching any resistance. And then I'm just going to wipe this excess silicone paste and put it on this side over here. All my stuff works. So this side is technically done. I'm going to end up putting my wheel spacers back on right now. One thing you're going to want to do, and I'll bring the camera over, is I'm going to put my truck in the on position. I'm going to pump the brakes, and what that's going to do is it's going to tighten up the pistons and the pads, because if you don't do that initially, your brakes are not going to work when you first start your vehicle. So there's the pads in their beauty, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn the vehicle on. Okay. So you should have seen it. I couldn't really see, but I heard it. Tightened up. The final step. Oh, that I didn't do. Remember your clip? Final step. I have it here. I just didn't bolt it in. So I can go ahead and turn that on. Now, if I had done my extra steps, my optional steps at this point, what I would need to do is I would actually need to bleed the brakes. I don't have a video for that. I'm not going to do that because I didn't enter any air into the system. If I had opened this bleeder valve, I would need to bleed the brakes. Those are tight. Boom. That's one side done. I'm going to do the other side, but I'm not going to show you. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I'm going to do a little follow-up here in a minute. hopefully I make it home. Just kidding. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something on how to do the Tacoma, at least the front brakes. And it's easy. You know, take your time, do your research, realize how important it is to do it correctly. Maybe get some help, but anyone can do it. Just get the right stuff. All right, take it easy.